Uh-oh.
Here we go. We got Scott Ray today. He is one of the fishing coaches and content creators for Salt Strong. Scott, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Happy to be here.
No, we really appreciate it. You know, we've obviously followed Salt Strong for a little while now, and getting to know more about Salt Strong is really the reason we wanted you to come on because it's a very interesting kind of the new wave of learning how to catch fish. And one of the things with Salt Strong that I want to kind of start with is the mission. And the mission is to unite fishermen to honor God and Jesus Christ and to catch more fish. So, why don't you kind of start us off with, you know, how you got into Salt Strong and just your backstory before Salt Strong?
Yeah, so I've been fishing pretty much my whole life, on and off. I kind of got into combat sports for a little bit, and then I got back into fishing again, and then anyways, I saw Salt Strong. Honestly, I saw an advertisement for a lure they come out with, and I told my wife, I was like, "Hey, I like this lure. This is really nice. I want to get one of those big packs they sell. They sell 100 pack of these things, and I was like, I want 100 pack." For my birthday, which is coming up in a week or so, right? I mean, we're grown men. You know what your birthday present is,
Oh yeah.
at this point. Anyways, and so um, it comes a 7 pack of lures and a year membership. And I was kind of upset with her. And I'm like, baby, the year membership, like, what is this? You know what I'm saying? This is like, I know how to fish. I don't need this. And this is before I knew what Salt Strong was and all of this, right? And so for like a month, I didn't click on any of this stuff. I didn't go into the community. I didn't use the app. And one day I'm sitting at home bored, and I don't even remember it. Maybe it was raining that day or something. I don't know. And so I'm bored, and I'm like, let me check this app out. And it's amazing. The app is ridiculous. It's the most advanced fishing tool I've ever seen. And I was like, wow. So I'm clicking around on it, and there's a community on there. I'm like, community, what is this? So I get in there, and it's like its own forum, like its own private Facebook type thing, but without all the bad stuff. Everyone is positive. They are literally trying to get you on fish. Like they'll tell you where they caught them. They'll tell you, how they're doing it and try to help you. And it's all positive. It was amazing. So I was like, wow, okay. I really like this. This is great. So not upset at the wife for only getting a 7 pack anymore, right? Um, and so I started posting, and I made some posts, and I'm a huge science nut, and I just love the whole, I want to know the why of everything. And so I started posting some really in-depth stuff, and then they hit me up one day and was like, "Hey, we're highly impressed, and we want you to come and we're gonna give you a trial run and kind of see how you do as a coach." And I was like, "Oh, that's great. That would be an honor." And so I kind of dove into it head first, and I mean, we're still here, I guess. 2 years later now, I've been coaching. I started off just covering the upper Texas coast, and now I cover from Sabine down to South Padre Island to Port Isabel, basically, Louisiana border to Mexico border. And I've traveled all around in those last 2 years trying to get to know those bay systems better. A lot of those places I'd only been once or twice, and I'm trying to write a game plan for the weekend and tell people where to catch fish, and I've only been there twice. But the fish patterns are the same. Trout are going to behave the same given certain conditions and certain variables. Redfish, even easier to pattern, I think. And so I got good at it, and my game plans are really good now. Almost, pretty much every week, I have a lot of good feedback of people telling me, "Hey, thanks to your game plan, you put me on fish." And so, I mean, I'm sitting there clicking on the app, showing them where I think fish are going to be, and that's kind of the job. That's it. That's what I do for Salt Strong. So.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. And it's interesting when you say that people are open to sharing their spots because normally that's not you don't normally
It's
see
taboo.
that.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. The better you get, the better you realize, or the more you realize it's not about spots, it's about types of spots. And I don't necessarily say they're going to be here, but they're going to be over shell. They're going to be in this depth. They're going to be, list off three or four things to where if I give the example of East Galveston Bay and you're fishing West Galveston Bay, you can look for the same types of areas and still find those fish,
Right.
right? Because I mean, they're going to be at a certain depth given a certain, water temp, and like there's tons of variables, but like you see what I'm saying, right?
Absolutely.
So that's kind of more of what we're trying to do is um, teach people how to pattern and make them good anglers. You can show a guy a spot, and then we kind of mentioned, they kind of mentioned this right before we went live. Is like I can show you where the fish are, but in 3 or 4 days they're probably going to move. Now you're going to keep going back to that spot and strike out. Now it's not about spots; it's about learning to pattern fish, and if you stay on them all the time, you can follow them around. But a lot of these guys, they get to go out twice a month, and you're not on fish. Like you haven't fished in 2 weeks. You don't know where they're at, so you've got to figure them out. And so we're teaching people how to figure out fish behavior and fish patterns based on season, moon phase, water temperature, salinity, spawning patterns, bait hatch. Like I mean, again, there's a million variables, but you try to break it down to where people can understand. So
Yeah, and that's one of the important things that I didn't understand as a kid. I had just like what you said. There was spots that I caught fish, and I went back to those spots every time, and in hopes. So it got to a point where I had about 10 spots, and I'd go try one. If it didn't work out, I'd go the next and the next, and then finally I figured out. Oh, wait a minute. There's moon patterns. There's structures that these fish are going to in certain times a year, and then you start to realize, oh wow, this is all. If I would have known this a long time ago, I could have easily caught
yeah.
more fish.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I hate to hear on social media. Facebook is terrible. These guys are so rude about it. They're like, put in the time and learn. It's like, dude, show the guy how to catch fish. Like, you don't have to tell him where you're going to be today, so he comes to your spot. But like, don't just be like, put in the time and figure them out. Like, that's the rudest thing ever. It's
And
like,
that's not the way that people should be. And if you think about kids going out and fishing, would you say that to a kid who's never fished before, or would you show them, hey, this is the right way to tie a knot? Is the right way to fish in general? And when you think about it, think of everybody as if that was a kid standing there, what would you say to them?
right. And it's the only outdoors. Hunting is the same way a little bit, maybe not quite as terrible, but hunting and fishing, especially fishing, is one of the only activities, sports, what hobbies, whatever you want to call it, where the veterans keep information. They harbor information and keep information from the beginners. And not only do they keep information, they'll tell you wrong information to keep you away from their places. Like, they'll lie to you. Like, there's so much deception in fishing, and I hate it. I absolutely
Why
hate
do you
it.
think that
Like
is? Why do you think that generation, and I'm not saying it's all
it's the
of a certain
culture.
generation, it's specific
Yeah,
people. I can't bucket everybody in one, but
right.
why do you think that is?
I don't know. It's the culture, man. I mean, you're not actually you're not perceived as a jerk or an a-hole or whatever you want to call them when they're being that way. That's like the norm. Like you're not supposed to give away information. Is kind of what you're taught and or what everyone does, and then people get upset with you if you do. You don't realize how much hate mail I get. It's like
Oh,
you're giving away all the spots, and I'm like,
And th
find some better ones, dude. Like.
well, yeah, and what on that note, I don't post at all, but read a lot of the Salt Strong commentary, and what I'll say is, how do y'all manage it? Because for the most part, y'all are better than the average church group where everybody's very positive. And it's even like when it's negative reports, it's like, hey, thanks for the feedback. I think I may change up my strategy this weekend. I know I read all the Central Texas little like even like the individual comments, not just the coaches, but from the insider information, and they're always just so positive, even if it's not like positive intel.
I think positive follows positive, and there's also a zero tolerance policy. That comment, we have moderators. All of the coaches are on board. All of the insiders, the other members are on board with it. And the moment there's a negative comment, it's gone before you're going to see it. And there's been a few that I've seen, but it's never really extreme. Like go to Facebook. Oh my gosh, those guys just
It's rough.
crucifying each other out there over some little petty stuff, and you just get nothing but uplifting positive things in Salt Strong. I mean, it's a faith-based company. You just kind of touched on that in the beginning. The founders and pretty much most of the members are religious to an extent, and we just want to lift each other up, man. And that's whether it's fishing or somebody whatever gets a flat tire, like something petty. We want to lift each other up and give everyone a positive. um we want that to be somewhere people can go and feel good. People can go and be comfortable. And it's the total opposite on Facebook. You're going to get nothing but hate, and it's brutal out there. It is. Y'all
Yeah,
know it is. I'm just not
absolutely.
buttering
And,
because
and it's not
it's
it's not just fishing, it's everywhere. And I don't know what it is
yeah,
in this world today where everybody just feels so comfortable being so ugly to each other.
yeah,
And I kind of, for anybody in fishing and hunting, when you're face to face with them, it's never that. So it's almost like it's
right.
something from somewhere else where it's not real, but they definitely use it to get you riled up. But going back to
Yeah.
kind of, uh, we're big, and I won't say massive religious people, but myself, James, I know we definitely are godly people. And what would you say, Salt Strong, in that mission? What do they do to kind of help reinforce that God first, Jesus in your heart, just kind of just overall to help people instill those values within themselves?
Um, it's talked about freely. A lot of places, Christians are censoring themselves, just to not get that that stuff we just talked about on social media. That hate, that negative stuff. And even if somebody's neutral, then they're like, oh, this is no place for religion. And they don't censor it. They let it flow, and they be who they are. And they put God first in everything they do and say. And that shows through the community. Joe, one of the founding brothers, Joe and Luke Simons. Joe has a podcast called Unchurched, and basically he's got two podcasts. One is Salt Strong Fishing Stuff, and the other one is the Unchurched podcast. And it's, um, you know, uh, man, he's basically sitting up there and talking about God and life, and um, lessons and scriptures. And I mean, it's what you would consider a Christian podcast. And they're just very open about it. And I think that's the key, is to if you're a Christian, you need to be proud of it. You need to let everybody know about this. You need to spread the word of God instead of um, you know oh, this isn't a place for religion. Everywhere is a place for God. God is
Absolutely.
He is everywhere.
And it's
I
kind of
mean,
weird when and I always talk to people about this because when I was first really getting back to Christ in my life, one of the things that was always strange to me was when I'd go sit down in a restaurant and I would, me and my family would hold hands and pray in front of a bunch of people, and I always got this uncomfortable feeling of praying in front of people, and I don't know what that was or why that uncomfort came, but it's almost like a societal where you're looked
yeah,
at like a weird person to be praying. But now it's not a big deal because it's almost like it's more accepted. But it's definitely what you're saying with the community that y'all have. There's more people that are more approachable with Christ and
Yeah.
continue to push that, which is really cool. So
I think it actually attracts a lot of people.
it
You know,
it really
they know
does.
we're gonna be honest. We have integrity, things like that, simply because of it. And you know, that attracts a lot of folks. You get a lot of like we were talking about before, like lies and deception and things like that in the fishing world. You know, anybody will promote a product they're paid to promote nowadays, and we're just blunt about it. We're going to try these products and we're not taking money from anybody, and we're going to honesty and integrity. And, you know, whether it's a product review or, you know, whatever it may be. And, you know, it basically that carries over into fishing is what I'm trying to say,
Yep.
as badly worded as I did it. But it carries over into fishing, which it should carry over into everything in your life.
Yeah, and you know that was the big mission for Texas Saltwater Fishing Magazine was we wanted to make sure that the products that are advertising, we actually believe in them because
Yes.
it's not about just accepting money. It's about we have to promote this and we will not promote an unquality product and try to push that on people when we know it's not the right thing to do. So I fully understand what you're saying.
You're putting your name on it. I
Absolutely.
mean, you know, when you endorse something, you're putting your name on it. That's your reputation on that, you know? And when uh, it looks really bad when a certain product or something like that turns out to be um, junk or subpar, I should say, right? Trying to keep it from being too harsh, but I mean, there's junk out there. I mean, this is the truth. There's bad products, and you'll see people promoting them, and it's like now we know that person's opinion is bought, and that shows a lack of integrity. And that's something I always really disliked. I never took sponsorships from anybody that I didn't believe in their product. And I got told I was crazy for that 10, 15 years ago, you know, when sponsorships were just becoming a thing and being mainstream, I should
Right.
say. Um, you know, I'm like, I was offered a sponsorship for that lure company, and I don't fish their stuff. Like, I don't like it. I don't think it's that good, and I turned it down. Like, oh man, you could have gotten like so. That's not what that's about, right? Shouldn't sponsorships be what you believe in, you know, instead of it being what you're paid to say? I
W
don't know.
well, on that, it's so funny with Salt Strong because you get your pack of free lures, and I remember, like, well, the first time I was like, "These have to be the biggest junk thing ever," and the Slam Shady is, like, unequivocally one favorite, like, go-to paddle tails.
Legit. It's
And
legit.
it's solid. Well, and I always can tell my wife they're free,
Yes, absolutely,
technically.
right. Technically, I mean, they technically are free. And you know, that's one of the perks of Salt Strong. You get the tackle tester every month, so that's a pack of lures or a lure if it's a hard bait or whatever it may be. And then the free Slam Shady, which Slam Shady is actually a color. And there's in the beginning, Slam Shady was that one paddle tail, and now it's the color. It was a paddle tail in that certain color. Now they make, oh gosh, don't get me lying. What, five or six, seven molds now? There's like a tweaker, which is like a little John. There's three sizes of paddle tail now. There's two sizes of the shrimp. Um, there may be more. Anyways, but there's and so you get a oh, the Slam Shady is like a white with some glitter and some pearl. And which white is proven. There's another scientific thing. White is proven to be one of the best colors. Any of the colors that are achromatic, in other words, they're not on the spectrum. Okay, it's like whites, blacks, browns, purple. Purple's actually achromatic. What's on the spectrum is violet, which is different. Don't get me down that rabbit hole. That's a whole conversation y'all don't want right now. Um, but so those are the best colors, and so those, if you haven't noticed, those are going to be the colors that catch the most fish. Um, browns, blacks, whites, purples. So, and they're achromatic. There's a couple more too, but I could spend forever. You get me down a scientific rabbit hole, guys. So you don't want that.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you, and it's funny because my tackle box, if you look at the baits that I use, I've got purple and white. There's no
There you go.
other things that I use, so I know exactly with what you're talking about. So
Yeah,
with Salt Strong, so kind of talk a little bit about how the app works, and talk a little bit
sure.
about some of the perks of being an insider with Salt Strong.
Okay. We kind of covered two of them there. You get two free packs of lures a month. I'm not 100% on what the monthly dues are right now. I think it went up by $10 per year or something recently, which is still not a lot. I think it's like 120, maybe 140 a year. So you're looking at $10, $12 a month or something like this, and you get two free packs a month. There's there's your 10 or $12 right there. All right. You get free live coaching. Matter of fact, you post something on the community. I've That's one of the parts of my job. I've got to monitor that community and answer those questions, and I love it. It's great. We all very passionate about our job. But so free live coaching. I'll even make you a video if you want, something like that. You might have seen some of my like personal videos for people that I've put out when they ask a question. Um, you get a weekly game plan. You get the app, in which we're fixing to talk about. There's a ton of it. The community, um, there's chapters. You can show up to a chapter meet. There's chapter meetings once a month, and you get a free pack of lures there too. That's three free packs of lures. Now the larger chapters do a little drawing to see who gets them, but the smaller chapters, like there's 12, 15 people there. Everybody gets a pack of lures. And So they draw for the order of where you choose, right? So all the purples will disappear first, and that type of thing. But
Right.
so chapters meeting up with other insiders, fishing buddies, like-minded fishing buddies, and the app, of course, which I guess we'll talk about next. Y'all ready for me to dive into the app?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about, if I'm new to Salt Strong and I'm new to fishing, what do you recommend? What's my starting point? Is it jumping right into the community? Is it trying to get a hold of a fishing coach? What do you recommend?
So if you just joined Salt Strong, I would definitely recommend you get in the community. I think personally, it's the biggest perk, uh, the biggest thing about Salt Strong is that community. Um, we've spent a ton of time kind of talking about it and how good it is already, but there's again a ton of like-minded individuals that are willing to go fishing with you, willing to share information, fishing reports constantly. There is tip videos constantly, spot dissections, whether it, tip videos, whether it be a knot or how much line is supposed to go on your reel, or like there's literally thousands of these. The video database is up to like 5 or 10,000 something. It's nuts. Um, I promise you, if you have a question about it, it's on there. Anchor, how to choose the right anchor, how to, like, you name it. So the video database on the community, you could spend a week's worth of hours and still not get through all the educational videos in there. So the community is definitely where you would start. Watch the weekend game plans. They can get you dialed in with, kind of where to start and how to attack it. Take the guesswork out. We tell you like colors to use, size of jig to use, what baits to use, kind of the areas of types to fish, things like that. Go over all the conditions, wind direction. Wind's really strong. It's wintertime out of the north. Get protected here. Do this, do that, whatever it may be. I just threw a random example out because we got nasty strong wind today. So, um, yeah, so definitely jump in the community, and then the app. I'm not gonna lie, the app is so good, um, and it's got so much that it's gonna take you a while to get good at navigating it and kind of understand how to use it. It's an all-encompassing app. It has everything from like water temperature. So you've got a map of the bay and you can choose the entire Gulf. Like it's like a world map, but you can go to like your bay system and click the water temp layer, poof, and it shows you the water temp in all of the areas of the bay, like with a little graduating lines, and shows um, it's got depth charts, like some of the better charts on the GPSs and stuff. It's got like a shaded relief that shows you all the depths of all the areas. There's holes that I didn't even know about, deep spots, shallow mounds that I didn't even know about till I got this app. It's got all of the moon phases, temperature, wind direction. Um, I'm gonna forget all of the stuff that's on it now since I'm on the spot, but like it's pretty much a weather app. It's windy, it's NOAA, it's got all of that. Like you don't even need anything else anymore. And again, it's a lot to take in. It's gonna take you a while, but it's the most powerful fishing tool I've ever seen, to be honest. Here's another cool thing about it: your catch log. So you can take a picture of your catch, and this is personal, or you can choose another person to share it with. So like you and your tournament partner, like you could share it with them. But this is personal. That's not not public. But you take a picture of your catch, and it logs like the date that it was caught, the time of day, and what I mean by date, like the time of day, the moon phase, the temperature, the weather, all of this stuff, and then you can go back and be like, okay, let me search through 2013 December with a 25-mile-an-hour north wind to see if I caught anything in the Wayne and Gibbous moon phase in Galveston Bay, and like it shows you right where you caught them, and like you could even add in like the lures you used and things like that if you wanted to. So it builds this database for you to where you can have your own fishing catch log that you can go back and reference, right? And you can even upload old pictures. So let's say you have your iPhone that does the location and the time of the picture that's
Right.
embedded on phones since, oh gosh, 2015 or something. They've been doing that. Um, don't quote me on that. I have no idea when they started doing that on iPhones, but you can go back and upload all of your old fishing pictures and it'll put it in that database. So let's say you signed up today and you went through and just uploaded 1,500 pictures of fishing into that app. It builds that database for you, and you can go, all right, let's see what I caught in 2019 in December, and look it up. And okay, add 2020, add 2021, add 2022. Okay, I see a pattern here. I've been fishing the north side over here behind this one island, and that's where 2/3 of these catches came from. Let's start there tomorrow, right? Or whatever. I mean, just giving an example. So that catch log is huge. That catch log is awesome.
And
Um,
that's something that when we're at the fishing show, we hear all the time. We have these old timers come around and they talk about
they
their
got a book.
notebooks. They have these notebooks where they track the wind, they track the moon phase, and they write down where they caught these fish. And they say, I go by my notebook. This is where I go. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting how you've kind of converted that to a digital app now to where you don't have to write down and flip through pages. It's right at you just click a couple of buttons and you're there.
Yeah. And it's it's digital too. So like it shows you a picture of the catch. You know, it's I mean it's cool. It's super cool. That catch log is awesome. I've got a lot of stuff I need to upload. I've only been doing it since the 2 years that I've been there. But I wanna upload all of my old stuff. I got to get my old phone out and do it, and I've just been too lazy to do it. But it's epic. I mean, it's super cool. Um, it gives you a strike score, which is this is one I kind of don't use. So the strike score is it's proprietary stuff. A lot of this is proprietary software, but I won't dive too deep into all of the things it uses. But basically, it has a range of each one of these. Okay, so I'm going to use wind for an example. Water temp is in there too. Moon phase is in there. Ton of stuff is in there. But let's use wind for an example. If it's under like 3 or 5 miles an hour, I think it's 3 miles an hour, then it actually is a negative. If it's over like 12 or 15, maybe, then it's a negative, right? So everything has to line up perfectly in the perfect ranges of all these variables to where the strike score starts out at a 10. And anytime one of those are out of an ideal range, it deducts a little, right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And it's pretty much the closest you can get to having an algorithm tell you how good the day is going to be. Is it 100% accurate? No, I've caught some good fish on days that, but nothing, there's not going to be any algorithm that's going to outsmart Mother Nature.
Right.
But it's pretty darn accurate.
Where I've
So,
always found the strike scores particularly helpful is y'all's like the little hotspot mapping is on those days where the score's lower. To me, I've always kind of diverted more of my attention to those better areas, and then on days that that score's higher, it's like, well, let's try this or this looks a little bit different.
yeah.
It isn't interesting to see them kind of work side by side, and yeah, it's made a lot of like excitement for weekends, and it's made some disappointment where it's like it was a 9 on the strike score and we didn't catch much.
Right. So those hotspots, that's another feature. So you can turn on smart fishing spots. That's actually the kind of the name of the app, and that's where it started in its infancy, and then it grew to the monster of a fishing app that it is today. But those smart fishing spots, he's talking about, they call them hotspots, which that's what we call them now. But they basically, it'll highlight a spot for you and tell you what species should be there, why they're there, incoming tide, wind direction, this, yada yada, whatever it is. And it has a color. It's like purple, yellow, red, things like that. And the red is the hotter ones. So and those are all hand-picked spots by fishing coaches and guides. And all that data is put in. That's like half AI and half, the spots are picked by us, by fishing coaches, guides, all the people that have worked there throughout the years, things like that. So they're not just AI going, "Hey, this might look like there's fish there." AI is doing the app, the algorithm for you of why they should be there and when and things like that. But those spots are picked by a professional, and it helps the new guys out a lot. That's a big bay.
Yeah.
Where the
Now
heck do
on
I?
your hot
Go?
spots,
Mhm.
what's the range? Is that like if you were to map it out, where if you're looking at a hot spot, how many yards, miles are we talking within that hot spot?
Some of them are real tiny and some of them are big. We actually can we they pick the ranges on them. They can make them smaller and bigger. And so like some of them will be just like a tiny little island or a tiny little reef, or some of them will be, the mouth of a bayou or whatever it is. And they vary. There could be a huge reef in the middle of the bay, and that whole thing may be lit up, and they may not be all over it. They may be only on one corner of it or something, but the reef will be lit up. There's all kinds of layers on there. There's a reef layer, artificial reef layer. There is a oyster layer, shows you where all the oysters are. There's a seagrass layer, show you where all the seagrass is. There's boat ramp layer, in case you want to find new boat ramps that you didn't know about. There's a kayak launch layer that shows you all of the legal park places to park and launch your kayak, and there's thousands of those places. There's so many cool layers on that app. That's just, I knew I wouldn't remember them all until I started talking about it. Now I remembered some more.
Well, the public access layer is so massive because there's so many spots you see as a fisherman that you go, as a kayak person myself, you're always like, man, that's a great spot. I don't know if I can park there. There's no signs, there's nothing. To be able to have a resource that tells me, and it's not just says you can park there. There's people commenting. There's 4 spots available. There's 6 spots available. That's a game changer for myself that I always default to.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got public land layer is what he's talking about, and a lot of these hunting guys have this a specific app that shows them where public land is that they can hunt. It's that whole software that is that app for those hunting guys is in the Smart Fishing Spots app. So you can you know just eyeball a spot and go, wow, look, there's some oysters near a point over here, and there's a road nearby. I wonder if I can park there. I wonder if that's legal for me to fish there. And it's boom, there it is, legal or not. And it'll light up a certain color, and you can click on it and it'll tell you all the information about it. So it's very cool.
So if I'm new to the app and I'm trying to figure it out, what's some of the easy things that you can do right off the bat that you would tell people, hey, start here and then kind of work your way towards this?
The first thing I would tell people to do is definitely get on the community and definitely watch the weekend game plans. I think they're going to help you more than the app is going to help you, because the app may take you, you day three, you're still going to be going, I have no idea what I'm doing on this app, right? Because it's just that big. There's that much stuff. You can't put it's literally 10 apps worth of stuff. It's a wind app, it's a NOAA website, it's everything all in one. A weather app, like you don't even need your weather apps anymore. It's got all that on there. So it'll take you a while. I would say, as far as the app's concerned, I would turn on the smart fishing spots and give those a shot. Um, Definitely, take other things into consideration, but those smart fishing spots are, I would say, and this is as good as you could ask for. I would say they're 80-90% accurate. Um, Pick out 5 or 6 smart fishing spots that are lit up. And if you don't catch fish in one of them in 15, 20 minutes or whatever it is, then go to the next one. If you have 4, 5, 6 of those picked out and you hit those until you find fish, you'll catch fish that day.
Now, do
Um,
those spots change throughout the day, or is it kind of set
yeah.
per day?
No, that actually is, I believe it changes every 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And so now that doesn't mean that they're going to change every 15 minutes. That means that it rereads the conditions. And if things have changed enough, then they will change. Do you see what
Okay.
I'm saying?
Yep.
So if the wind hasn't changed and the tide hasn't changed and the temperature hasn't changed and all of this, then it's not just like every 15 minutes they're all over the place.
Right.
Every 15 minutes it rereads the conditions and it repaints a new map. And that map may not change for an entire tide cycle. The wind doesn't change, the tide hasn't changed yet. It's been, midday, like that. So it doesn't mean that they're changing. It means, yeah. So
Okay. S-
they update
So,
often.
so with you, you kind of told us a little bit before we got started that you're quite the astronomer.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
How has
I
that
took some
helped you
astronomy
kind of
and
in your progression of fishing and understanding how all that works?
yeah. So, I mean, we can dive right into some moon stuff if y'all want to talk about how the moon affects fishing and things like
I
that.
love
If
it.
y'all want to go,
Yeah,
okay.
go for it.
So let's first talk about tides and how they're created. So you have the Earth, and the Earth is rotating around the sun, right? And then at the same time, you have the moon, which is rotating, or orbiting is the correct terminology, that is orbiting around us. Okay. And so anytime that you have all three of them, sun, earth, and moon, in a straight line, that's called syzygy, and then you are going to have the strongest tides. The sun is actually pulling a tidal bulge on either side of the earth, and the moon is also pulling a tidal bulge on either side of the earth. And when they're all in a straight line, those tidal bulges will overlap each other. That's why you have stronger tides on a full moon and a new moon. Okay, which a new moon is like the blacked out moon, right? Okay. And when you have quarter moons, which actually looks like a half moon, okay, most people call it a half moon, but it's actually a quarter moon. I hope that's not confusing. It's half of a full moon. Okay, um, that means that the Earth is here and the sun is over here, and the moon is either on the top or the bottom. So the tidal bulge for the moon is up and down, and the tidal bulge for the sun is left and right. And that's what makes those 4 tide days versus 2 tide days, is when the tidal bulges have overlapped, then you're going to have 2 tides, which is called a diurnal tide. Okay, diurnal, two per day. Okay, and then when you have uh, the quarter moons, like I was talking about, right? The sun's on one side and the moon is either 90 degrees to it, right? Um, that's semi-diurnal tides, and those are going to be weaker tides. They're typically known as neap tides. All right. Um, and let's see what else affects fishing that I can throw out there. Oh,
So let me
um,
ask you this while we're kind of on that conversation of the moon and the sun and how they affect the tides. What what creates a high tide and what creates a low tide?
Yeah, so that's exactly what that is. The gravitational pull from the moon and the sun are like pulling that water into like a bulge, okay? And the earth is actually spinning inside those bulges. All right. So when they move, it's like a magnet, and you've got something with a bunch of the metal fuzz in there. If you've seen these toys before, you got a magnet, and you can move that magnet over to the top, and all of the fuzz will go up there. That's what the moon is doing with the water. Okay. And the sun is actually doing it too. That's a lot of people don't think that the sun has anything to do with the tides, but it's like 25% of what the tides are. 75% is the moon, and it's actually not those percentages. It's very close though. So when an astronomer watches this and they're like, he's wrong. I'm trying to keep it for the layman's terms here. But anyways, so they're both pulling. So now we have two magnets, okay, on the metal fuzzies in the ball. Okay, you kind of see it in the clear ball. When they're both on in the same direction, both of theirs overlap each other, right? All of the fuzz will be up there, the metal fuzz. Okay, so that's what happens when you have them in a line, whether it's sun, moon, earth, or it's sun, earth, moon. Anytime they're in a line, the tidal bulges overlap each other and become two tides as opposed to four tides. All right, which is diurnal and semi-diurnal. Um, and then so let's kind of talk about something else real quick. So not all of the moon phases are the same, because the moon is actually in an ellipse orbit around the Earth. It's not in a perfect circle around the Earth. So there's times when the moon is closer to the Earth than others. All right. Then you'll have stronger tides when the moon is closer to the Earth. A lot of people have no idea. They're like, "Oh, we got this super strong tide today. I have no idea the wind isn't even that strong." Well, it's called perigee. Perigee is when in the elliptical orbit when it's the closest. Apogee is actually when it's the furthest. Okay. So you like, why the heck are the tides so weak? Well, the moon is very far from the Earth right now. Okay. Um, and so let's talk about the solunar.
And
Okay.
is there a way to tell that when the moon is closer and when it's further away? Is there a way that you can track that, or is that something that you can see?
Yeah, you can actually see it. So a supermoon is when the moon is in perigee, and we also have a full moon that's the full moon phase, and it's in perigee. So the moon will actually be brighter in the sky. It'll be bigger, and we'll have very strong tides, right? And you can just go online and look it up. That's actually one of the only things that the Salt Strong app doesn't have. But you can go online and look that up. It's a lot of people don't even know about it. It's so obscure, but it's very impactful on the fish. It's like 25 or 29,000 miles difference in the orbit. So like it'll be 25,000 miles closer to Earth. So it's significantly stronger gravitational pull. That's Newton's second law is essentially how close something is the stronger the gravitational pull, the closer it is to each other, right? And so that's why we don't have a ton of gravitational pull from like Jupiter. It's big, it's got really strong gravity, but it's way out there, and so we don't feel it, right? The moon is right there, and when it's even closer, it's much stronger. So your major and minor feeding periods will be more pronounced when the moon is in perigee, which the closest in its orbit, when it's very close. Whether it's any of the moon phases, it doesn't matter. The solunar, which is the solunar, in case anybody doesn't know, when the moon is rotating around us, orbiting us. Okay, when it's directly overhead or directly underfoot, that's a major feeding period. And when the moon is rising and when the moon is setting, those are minor feeding periods. And what it does is the gravitational pull being um, in a line, basically vertical or horizontal on the fish, they feel more comfortable. They're not as off balance and they're not as messed up, and they feed during those times. And that affects everything. You know, like hunters use this. Um, it affects plants, it affects everything. But so those major and minor feeding period times will be more pronounced when the moon is closer to Earth. So, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, well, the major didn't produce today." Well, we might have been in apogee, which is the moon furthest away. Okay, and they didn't really have much effect, right? So
So
hopefully, I didn't dive too deep.
no, that's it's kind of neat to start to learn things about different aspects of how the moon, the sun affect things in our world. And so if and this is what a lot of people run into, it's a high tide and maybe there's a back lake that they can get into, and they're on the fish, they're catching, and by the time they get through, now they can't get out. How do
Right.
you predict that, or is that something that the app can help you with?
Yeah, absolutely. It's got a really good. It's got a very very good tide prediction. It uses multiple tide sources. Okay, it uses the NOAA one. I don't know if I'm supposed to mention that, but it uses the NOAA buoys as well as a lot of other things to predict the tides. So it's very good. You can use the tides and the depth charts and try to kind of predict when you're going to be in trouble. Um, but you know, always go back there on an incoming. That's the way to do that, right? Go back there to the incoming tide, and then once you see it start moving out, you go out with it. Would be what I would do. But you can just look at the moon in the sky and tell, where it's at and what it's doing. If you can look up and see the moon, if it's directly overhead, you got a major feeding period, and that you're probably fixing to have an outgoing tide pretty soon. You just kind of look at the moon. That's why they did it. That's how they did it old school style,
Yeah.
before all these fancy apps, right?
Now, how did you get into kind of astronomy, and what pushed you towards that?
So I kind of mentioned I've been fishing my whole life. I was obsessed with fishing when I was a little bit younger, and I had to take a couple of sciences for my major, and I'm looking at these sciences and I'm like boring, boring, boring. I'm like, ooh, that can apply to fishing and hunting. I like this. So let me go try astronomy. And there was probably 90% of it that didn't apply, but you know, the, a lot of it did though. Some of it did apply to fishing, and that's kind of where I got it. I took two astronomy classes in college. That's it. Um, was a
Yeah.
fisherman back then, and I am again still.
Yeah, that's something that for me, understanding new aspects of just life in general, astronomy, different sciences, you would be shocked how helpful they can be for all the activities, hunting and fishing. And I saw this documentary one time. It was about the Arctic fox and the foxes in kind of Antarctica and stuff like that, and how they use the energy of Earth to track animals. And it blew my mind. It wasn't on a sense of smell, sense of sight, anything like that. They were using the energy of the Earth and different, like the magnetic fields, to track
Yeah,
animals.
that's interesting. See, I didn't know anything about that till you just mentioned it. That's very cool.
Yeah.
But there's all this science out there that nature is in tune with, that we've grown out of tune with. We just don't need it or mess with it anymore. It's eh, it's kind of like, when you were a kid, you knew all your friends' phone numbers, grandma's phone number, and all of this. How many phone numbers do you know now? None. You might know your wife's phone number,
Yeah, you
right?
better
Like,
know
and
your
that's
wives.
it. Yeah, that's it, right? Like, unless dad had the same phone number since being a kid, or mom or whatever, but like, you've forgotten all these. You don't know any phone numbers because it's right there.
Right.
It's on the phone. So I don't have to know them. So we have all these apps and stuff now, and you don't need to know it anymore, which is great. I'm not knocking, a wind app, but like, they used to have wind socks, and nobody even knows what knots are anymore. Like, there's so much of the sciences that are getting lost to the public. Of course, scientists still know them, but
Right.
everyone used to know all that stuff. Everybody knew that stuff, and now no one does. So
Do
that's
you
why
feel like
Grandpa was a better fisherman than us,
yeah,
right? He
do you
knew all
feel like
that stuff.
do you feel like the more you've learned, the less you realize like it's like a coincidence that you found fish here or this was successful? Like the more you're like able to like determine that's why.
Yeah. No, and there's some days that you're like, um, you just like stumble upon fish still sometimes, and but you're like, bing, that's why they're here. Oh, I I should have known this. Uh-oh. I gotta plug in my guys, I'm sorry. I gotta plug this in.
Don't worry, we can edit it.
Okay, yeah, edit this out. I gotta plug in the computer before it goes dead on me. I didn't even realize I unplugged it earlier. All right, there we go. They might laugh at that. You could leave that in there. Um, anyways, where were we? What was I saying? I don't even remember.
Coincidences.
Yes. So, um, yeah, sometimes you still stumble upon fish, no matter how good you get, but now you understand why. You're like, ah, yes, I should have thought of that. Like, ah, yes, I should have known that they were going to be here because of the salinity and the water temperature and just we're in a waxing gibbous. I should have known, and like so you kind of kick yourself in the hiney a little bit more often because you feel like you should have known. But no, there's a lot less of the um, well, let's just go somewhere and see if we can find them. Like everything has a purpose now. Like everything's calculated now. The better you get, the more every move will be calculated because you're confident that you understand the fish, and you've got science to back it up. So
Yeah, I wish I would have known that back when I was 16, running every flat, running every reef that you could imagine, and still catching nothing and not understanding why. So, Scott,
yeah, and
go ahead.
go ahead. No, I didn't have anything. I was just going to reinforce what you said.
Yeah, and we really appreciate having you on. Give us one more. How do we find you? Uh, how can we support Salt Strong and kind of some of the things that would help you out in the future?
Sure. So I'm actually doing kind of a real niche type of guide service. It's kind of like a fishing class, and a lot of the guides I'm getting a little bit of hate from them about this, but basically, I you can come with me, or a lot of people really prefer I come on your boat, show you where to go. You can plot routes, mark spots, and we learn how to fish because there's a lot of things I could tell you right where the fish are, and you may not be able to catch them because you operated the trolling motor wrong, or you came and approached that spot wrong, or you were like, there's so many little things that having an expert coach you through. And again, I learn all the time. I just said the word expert like I'm an expert, but having somebody that knows those things to teach you can dial you in like little stuff. Like people don't hook their jig on properly straight, and like that can be it. That could be that's you never catch fish because of that. Like it could be something tiny. So I'm trying to go on these boats with these guys and beginners and kind of get them the basics and show them how to do it. So it's called Fishing Science Fishing School. And you can look me up on Facebook. You can find me in Salt Strong. I highly recommend everyone join Salt Strong, saltstrong.com. It's very easy to find. There's advertisements all over Facebook. Y'all probably see them. Um, so check me out in the community on Salt Strong and look me up. Look me up on Facebook. I'm trying to do something different than guides are doing. And again, they're going to be mad at me for saying this, but a lot of them don't want you to know their spots. They'll only take you to one spot that they know where the fish are. You're going to fish with live shrimp under a popping cork. And then, they get you back to the dock at 9:30 and they're all happy about it and that type of thing. I take you out there all day, show you how to work lures, show you, how to walk the dog on a topwater if you don't know how to, whatever it is. I try to get you turn you into an angler in one trip. And it's also all day. I jump on the boat at daylight, and if you don't want to go home till dark, then we won't go home till dark. So y'all can look me up.
Man.
I love that. And
Yeah.
and
Go ahead.
yeah, and that's something that what I'll say to anyone, anybody who is consistently trying to get more people on the water to fish, to get in the outdoors, there's nothing wrong with that. And I know there's a lot of perception of how to do it the right way, the wrong way, but the more fishermen, the more hunters that we have, I promise you it's a better world.
Yeah. You're one with nature out there. You're one with God out there, and that's it's God's country, and I think everyone needs to appreciate the outdoors a little bit more, and give back to the community, the fishing community, not just the Salt Strong community. I don't want to just take somebody out and throw 3 trout in the cooler and then take them home. I want to teach you how to fish. Here we go. Give a man a fish or teach a man to fish, right? So I'm trying to teach a man to fish. So
There you go, Scott. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate what you're doing, even though perception may be skewed at times. Hey, getting
okay.
people out there, getting people understand how to fish and how to catch more fish, you can't go wrong with that. So thank you again, Scott, and we'll talk to everybody later.
Thanks, guys. God bless.
All right,
Hey,
hold on, Scott.
yeah, don't exit out whenever he's gonna.
Welcome back, folks. This is Texas Tales, the official podcast of Texas Saltwater Fishing Magazine. I am your host, Joshua Shive, and I have my co-host with me, James Kossab. James, what's new in your world?
Man, I'm sitting on cloud 9. I managed to get the target buck yesterday, and never works out like this.
So, well, your weekend was much more eventful than mine. I was Christmas shopping for kids and running errands. So I've been gone for 4 weeks. So it was kind of good to get back, but it was mainly just to do shopping. So tell me how it happened.
Yeah, man, it's always hard. You get the itch too, because you always. I swear, it's like the one weekend where you don't hunt, everybody shoots something. Like, damn it. And, no, I'd been sitting hard. Like I said, I hunt small acreage, so when it doesn't happen in those first 3 weeks, you kind of have this like reservation of there's a very good chance it doesn't happen. And I've heard a lot of shooting pressure later this season that was really concerning to me. And I have 2 target bucks I'd really been watching. One was an 7, one was an 8, and then I've got an 11. But I think he's too young. I've seen him on hoof last year, and he was an 11. I don't think he's there yet age wise. His tines are all like that little bitty sticklers
Yeah.
around. But this buck came out, and I was telling you before, I did the right thing, and we're never claimed to be perfect people. I saw this buck well before legal shooting light, and about a minute before we were totally legal, the 30 minutes prior, he starts walking to the neighbors, and my heart sank. And I shoot suppressed, so I'm sitting there, no one would know, and I didn't pull the trigger, and I was really proud of myself for it because God, there's a lot of
Good for
temptation
you.
too. Oh, believe me, there's a world where I do pull that trigger. So he hops over the fence, and I texted my brother. I saw him. I was like, "Hey, I think this guy was a shooter. Here's a pic of him in the dark and stuff." He's like, "Whoa, you let him walk?" And I was like, "He stepped out before it was legal." So I always keep a set of rattling antlers that I'd got quail hunting in South Texas. I found just this beautiful set of matching 8s that are just gorgeous big antlers. And so I just tapped him a little bit. He kept walking through his way. Well, I can see where he has to exit. So I tap him one more time, and I just see this deer do a 360. I'm like, oh, he really enjoyed that. So I kind of sit there for a minute. And next thing I know, I can hear something coming through the brush on the very far side. It's about 215 yards. And he had pushed a little buck out because he when he saw that other little buck, I guess he kind of realized, hey, if they're fighting, this guy's here, there might be a damn doe over there. And
Right.
he starts chasing after the little buck, and he comes back over the fence, and I think I'd ranged him about 220 on the dot. And I hit the first shot, and this is it kind of all of hell broke loose here in about a 5 minute span. First shot's on the mark, right? Kind of took out right behind the first shoulder, took out the second shoulder. Buck goes down, and I'm texting everybody, got him. And I'm about to call my wife because I always like to face her. Oh, we don't shoot a lot of bucks. So it's
Oh
always
yeah.
exciting. And I look over and we've got Angus Agushi bulls. Angushis is what they're called in the back pasture, and there's only two of them because we're pulling them off all the cows. So I don't care if they're at hunt 'cause it's two, it's two bulls. And
Right.
the little one sees this buck hit the deck, and he's been watching him all morning. It's like a little 50-acre field I'm sitting in, and he just takes off after this buck when it hits the ground. And the buck's head down. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. He's gonna harass a dead deer. The buck pops up at this point, and I go, oh, because you've experienced this season.
I've scared
These
you with
wound
my stories.
with these deer, when you jump them, you can be in for an adventure. And the buck takes about 3 steps, and I get a second shot off on him, and I should use my Win Mag, and so I knew pretty well that the first shot was lethal, but these small acreages, in 150 yards, he could be 3 places over,
Right.
and I've got good neighbors, and I like to keep it that way, and tromping through everybody's backfields, during deer season in a cold front's not a good way to do that, and so I put a second shot in him as kinda just like a precautionary tale. I'm not chasing after this deer. At this point, this buck has no front shoulders. He
Oh
rolls
my
himself
goodness.
underneath the cross fence to get away from the little bull that's still going after him. I'll send you the video. This bull is just like after this buck at this point, and I can't get a third shot off because the bull's in the way. So I'm like, well, let him go down to the creek, and I hear a crash that I mean, it sounded like he was taking down the whole creek bottom with him, and I'm like, that is that a sign he was just running that hard? This buck, I don't know how he stood, how he did it, or anything, launched himself from the very top of the creek embankment down and got about halfway to the creek till he took out about 3 or 4 trees, impaled himself with some small elms until he finally hit a bigger tree, embedded his antlers in the tree, and was trying to use them to push himself back up.
Oh my
Man,
goodness.
if you don't have the most respect for these animals, I don't know what you're doing. They are just freaking survivors in the best way possible.
They
But
are
now I
resilient.
a Win Mag, and it was funny too because as shooting suppressed, my wife was like, I almost had to call her to bring another round down because I only had one bullet left. I found him, and he was mostly done, but we accelerated the process to minimize everything for him. And it was so funny. My oldest brother's place over, and he called and he goes, "Hey, I want to come check out what you shot." And I go, "Yeah, let me find him first because I want to one, I got to make sure he doesn't shoot out the backside on me, but two, I want to make sure I shot, make sure he's the right deer because my brothers love to give each other crap over that." And I drag him out into the open. Oh wow, he's real special buck and biggest deer I've ever shot to date. And I knew he was good when we actually put pen to paper. And this is being a little liberal with it's rounding up to quarter and half inches, but he hit
Right.
exactly on the dot at 140. And to date, that's the biggest buck I've.
Man.
I know.
I
And
know
I
it's a
was
good picture.
yeah, especially too. You shove him out in front of you like that, man. It looks like a world record when you do that.
I love that. Yeah, no, I think that's pretty cool. And I think that, when you say I could have smoked him before daylight and you chose not to, and it all worked out. And it's kind of funny. You're shooting 300 Win Mag and you shoot him perfect, just like I thought my son shot his perfect. And they still just go and go. And it's unbelievable.
That's what my brother-in-law is becoming a brain surgeon, and so he's very, like, medically savvy, and he shot a doe last year, and we were following a blood trail, and I just remember him going, "Well, this deer has to be dead right around here," and I was like, "You don't know that." And he goes, "Well, I know just about, how much blood a human has," and, it was like 2 gallons of blood, like a real long blood trail, super thick, and I was like, "Oh, I've seen some just medical mysteries, if you will." And the little doe we were looking after, I think she still went like another 50 yards or so, and it's a great shot. She just was willing to go.
Yeah, that's something that you'll never understand until you see it. And then when you do see it, you're like, this is impossible. And then you realize nothing's impossible when it comes to deer hunting.
Well, doesn't it shock you sometimes where you'll see a blood trail where you're like, this deer's got to be dead around the corner, or you'll see the non-existent blood trail, like, well, this deer might have gone forever, and it's always the opposite.
It is always the opposite. I've had many times where I found zero blood and they're laying 15 feet. And then there's times where I find buckets and buckets just like poured all over. And I'm like, surely this deer's not far. And I walk, and then all of a sudden it stops, and then you're lost. You're like, what just happened?
Well, it was so funny. I took my wife back down there because I went and pulled the card on the camera to see, and it didn't catch any of the. It caught him before light and everything, but it didn't catch the excitement of the bull and everything. And she was looking at the blood trail on the floor, just like, what the hell happened down here? Because he's zigzagging, because he's trying to get away from this. Like I said, this damn little 1,000-pound
Right.
Angushi bull is on his butt. And like I said, the video I got, he finally rolled himself under the cross fence to get away, and he didn't go but 10 yards from there, and the blood trail literally is like, I mean, he just wanted to get away. And like I said, when it was funny too, because everybody I know a bunch of people in there is like, did you shoot today? And are they asking if I saw anything? I was like, yeah, I shot. And it's so funny, shooting suppressed, even 190 grain uh, Federal Fusion premiums, a real hot load, and that Win Mag. Nobody knew. Even Emma's like, I didn't hear you shoot at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy what the suppressors can do nowadays. Now, I will say on an AR, mine's still pretty loud.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as silent as you would think. But the
Not tight enough.
blackout, it's like a BB gun.
Yeah. Well, it's to be able to hear your voice today. I was laughing so much where I'm like, oh man, it's to be able to go to work the next day and not have that beep, you know what I mean?
I know.
It's
All
a
right,
game
so
changer.
we got a special guest today. We have Scott Ray with Salt Strong, and we are pretty excited to get to know his story, get to know a lot about Salt Strong and what they do and what their mission is. So we are going to get to that right now.